This is Omar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. Coogan did about an hour with you yesterday, so I'll keep this brief. One of the best atmospheres I've seen at a weigh-in.
Amazing. I mean, look, we know the Irish always bring it, but Nottingham as well come out in massive numbers, and 10,000 in there tomorrow night. This is just a taster of what we're going to get. Not just a great atmosphere, but a really, really good fight. And it feels like, I said in the Dazn interview up there, it feels a little bit like Quigg Frampton. You know, back in those days, you got England, you got Belfast, huge amounts of travelling fans as well, and it's going to be a great night, great fight as well.
Where do you think the loser goes from here?
I think there's different pressures on both, isn't there? Like for Leigh Wood, he seems really, really calm. But he never expected to be in this position. If you look back a year or 2 years or 3 years, this seemed like a very slim chance that something like this would ever happen. For Michael Condon, he's kind of expected to go through these levels. You know, like he's had the big contract with Top Rank, had the big push. I think there's different pressures on both. But for the loser, for Leigh Wood, I'm sure they're both, capable of coming back from this, but they both want to go on and be in those big unification fights. And I think for Michael Condon, a defeat would be very difficult to take because of the expectations on him. But Leigh Wood's been beat before, he's come back, he's been through all of that. So he seems really calm. Tired of weight, probably a little bit, both of them, but Leigh Wood is going to be the much, much bigger man in there tomorrow night because Condon's coming up really from bantam to super bantam. So but I think you're going to get a great fight.
Would you say out of your DAZN schedule so far for the first quarter, this is your best fight?
In this year? Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the two fights coming up, of course, the two featherweight fights, World Championship fights, Condon against Wood and Martinez against Warrington in a couple of weeks. It's a great couple of weeks, and obviously mix that in with Gennady Golovkin on DAZN, with Taylor Serrano at Madison Square Garden, with Conor Benn against Van Heerden, with Canelo Alvarez against Dmitry Bivol. It's an incredible few weeks.
Anything on Anthony Joshua in the last 24 hours?
Not really, no. I mean, we've done a load of interviews yesterday and they just go viral because it's Anthony Joshua. But we're waiting to hear from Alex Krasuk. We expect that to happen today or tomorrow. Really to get an update from Usyk, just to sort of say, look, when do you think you will be ready to fight? I know that question is very difficult at the moment because no one knows what's going to happen around the world. But the fact is that he would need to go in training camp in the next 2 weeks. And if that's not possible, let's push it back and let's let AJ have an interim fight.
How comes Wilder's name was mentioned? Because your relationship with PBC, the whole Deontay Wilder thing before, that just seems like really unrealistic.
That was the name that AJ put at the top of his list. He sent me a list of fighters that he would like me to explore. Deontay Wilder was one of them. He's always wanted to fight him. I think if you said to AJ, if you can't fight Usyk, and obviously Fury's fighting, who would you most like to fight right now? I think he'd say Deontay Wilder. Now, is that possible? We don't even know where Wilder is. I mean, the fight would be end of May, early June. But he wants me to go through this list. Some people will be easier to make fights with than others, and we'll find an opponent only if, Alexander Usyk won't be ready.
Are we any closer to learning his TV situation for his next fight?
Not yet, no. I mean, obviously there's conversations and negotiations going on with Sky and DAZN and other broadcasters as well. Generally, we'd sort of look to tie the Usyk situation up first before we complete that, but ongoing conversations with a number of broadcasters.
Not just on Anthony Joshua, but obviously you've done DAZN pay-per-view now with Canelo. If you do a DAZN pay-per-view in the UK, obviously we know Sky Sports Box Office have a huge platform there. Where's the push going to come from a pay-per-view point of view in the UK on DAZN?
Well, a number of different places. I mean, certainly a linear tie-up as well. Certainly the profile of Anthony Joshua. It's not difficult to push an Anthony Joshua fight regardless of the platform. And we know, DAZN have just entered the UK, 7-8 months ago. They don't have the pay-per-view power yet of Sky Sports, and they're not a pay-per-view platform. They're not looking to be. But if they have to bring the biggest names in boxing, and you're talking about a sprinkle of them, Canelo Alvarez or Anthony Joshua, that will have to be a model they explore. So I don't think that's something to worry about yet. Firstly, let's see if Usyk fights, then let's see who the interim opponent is, then let's see who the broadcaster is, and then we can see where we land with that.
What did you think about Sky Sports Box Office doing north of 500k for Khan Brook?
I don't know, you hear different. I heard 450, but if it was 500, it was around 500. I think they backed a lot more than 500 for that fight. But it's good, it's a great platform. I mean, we've seen time and time again, it doesn't really miss Sky Sports. I think they thought that would do 700,000 or 800,000 that fight, but it's getting more difficult. We live in a world now where illegal streams are also playing a big part in the sort of lowering of pay-per-view numbers, and that's something that broadcasters have got to get across as well. But it's a solid performance. Obviously, the rematch, has been triggered, so we'll see if that happens or whatever. But it was solid numbers.
Just to close off as well, in terms of Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte, had that been landed on DAZN and Matchroom had won the bid, if Tyson Fury hadn't pushed the fight, so you paid $32 million for that fight, and Fury hadn't attended the press conference, hadn't spoken about the fight, how would have you felt about that? How did DAZN felt about that?
Depends if he's not obliged to, and if he doesn't feel like he would have been treated in the correct manner. Everyone's very, very quick to forget that Tyson Fury didn't turn up to the Vladimir Klitschko press conference.
Wasn't that different, though? Well, he was going through mental health problems, wasn't he?
So he chose not to turn up. He's still at fault, but he chose not to turn up to the press conference. So what's the difference?
He was going for a situation, wasn't it?
It was for a fight, and he chose not to. He said that his car broke down on the way down. He didn't. You don't know what anyone's going through. But it's one rule for one rule for the other. At the end of the day, Tyson Fury didn't turn up to Vladimir Klitschko press conference. Dillian Whyte didn't turn up to Tyson Fury press conference. Let's hope everything gets resolved, and let's hope they get in the ring.
I saw some comments from yourself where you said that you don't rate Tyson Fury's power.
I didn't say that. I said I don't think that he's an out-and-out puncher. I don't think that Tyson Fury is a big heavyweight puncher. And if you know anything about heavyweight boxing, he's not. If you list the top 5, 6 guys in the division, he's not up there in terms of his power. He's not. He's never. You look at his resume, whether it's Hammer, whether it's Chisora, whether it's Klitschko, whether it's Schwartz. Schwartz's fight was never a Warlin. Even against Seferi and Pianetta, he's never been an explosive puncher. But he stopped Deontay Wilder more with pressure and work rate. But I don't think he's a one-punch knockout specialist. That's what I'm talking about, and I feel that Dillian Whyte is. So I see that fight going late. I don't see Tyson Fury winning that fight early by stoppage. And if it goes late, I favour Dillian Whyte because he's going to dog him all night and he's going to trade up left hooks, and I think he's got a great, only my opinion. You know, I mean, it's hard having a conversation with a fanboy, but, we move, as the kids say.